Welcome, everyone. Come on in and gather around. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga. My name is the Reverend Mandy Goheen. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm so glad you're here today. My friend Walter and I have been joking on rainy days about what a beautiful day it is outside. And a couple weeks ago when we were joking, Walter said, "Yeah, for worms." But it's a beautiful day for everything. It's a beautiful day to be in community, and I'm so glad you're here, no matter what brought you here. This is a really special day. This is our Share the Plate Sunday, and we are making a bolder commitment to the Chattanooga Area Food Bank. And I'm just so happy that we're participating in not just feeding each other and nourishing each other here, but nourishing our spirits no matter where we are, if we're watching from home, if we're somebody who's never set foot in this church, if we're somebody who doesn't even know why they're here today, or maybe someone who's been here so many times they can't remember not being here on a Sunday, except during COVID, of course. Our opening words are called "Be Here in This Moment." We are about to enter sacred time. We're about to make this time and this place sacred by our presence and intention. So please turn off and silence your phones, and as you do so, I also invite you to turn down the volume on your fear, to remove the masks except for the ones we wear for COVID, that we wear to hide ourselves, and to loosen the armor around our hearts. Don't take my word for it, and do it as slowly as you need to. If you take a little risk with these good people, you may find that they have the same human needs that you do. Breathe. Let go of the expectations placed on you by others and those they taught you to place on yourself. Drop the guilt and shame. Do not shrink accountability, but be honest in your expectations of the possibility of forgiveness. Let go of the things you said the other day. Let go of the thing you dread next week. Be here in this moment. Breathe here. Last week, some people mentioned I was quoting MLK, and I was talking about the arc of the moral universe is long, that. Well, he's quoting Lincoln, who's quoting Theodore Parker, a heretical Unitarian, which I'm sort of excited about. I didn't even know that existed. But in that time, he was considered heretical. And he has this to say: look at the facts of this world. You see a continual, progressive triumph of the right. I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eyes reach but a little way. I cannot calculate the curve and the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine by consciousness. But from what I see, I am sure it bends towards justice. Things refuse to be mismanaged for long. I like that last part. It's a time in our service where we light our chalice together, and I'd like to invite the Dornbushes up again to light our chalice, and they'll be sharing a social justice moment afterwards. And please join me in the chalice lighting words in our order of service. In the light of truth, in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. This month's social justice focus is food security, so please take it away.
I hear it working. Is it working?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. We've been talking to you for the last few weeks about food security and food insecurity. And last week we handed out shopping bags with a little tag on it so you can know what the food bank is looking for. Next week we'd like to collect the bags back from you full of whatever food things you want to contribute to the food bank. And Jennifer and I will then deliver them the next day to the food bank. Food insecurity is something that affects a lot of people, and you're going to hear more about that and how it affects people here in Chattanooga. And that's really too bad. We'd like to really do what we can to reduce the dependence on not having enough to eat, which is kind of a bad thing. So, what else do I have to say? Well, I'm gonna introduce Dominique Brand in a bit. She's here from the food bank, and she's going to do give you a little talk before we do Donate the Plate, so you understand more about what it's like right here in Chattanooga with food insecurity. And she brought a box of the kind of food that people receive when they go to the food bank. And if you want to come up and look at that afterwards, feel free to do so.
Thank you. So last week we sang a song, and we had it printed in the order of service. We couldn't quite see the words, so I have begrudgingly gone back to song on the screen. We're going to rise in body and spirit, whether you're at home or here, and join in singing We Gather Together. Now, this is the Unitarian Changed It version. You'll know the tune. So we're going to sing the two verses, and then we're going to give it a whirl. So please rise in body and or spirit. We gather to Please be seated. It is week 2 of 30 Days of Love. Can I get the 30 Days of Love slide? Yay! So 30 Days of Love is being celebrated in Unitarian Universalism globally. This month, there are some really cool resources online if you just look up 30 Days of Love 2023. This week, we're talking about blessings, but what I wanted to do before that is check in. We had some missions, some little homework things, and I want to see if anybody has a story about service last week they'd like to come and quickly share and how that impacted them. Ooh, we put you all on the spot. I saw some people doing service. I saw some people cleaning. I saw some people at the parade. No stories. Oh, come on up, Skip. No? Wow, this is a free faith. This is a free faith. You can participate if you want. Judy can come up. We need a microphone, babe.
I think a lot of people went and did something, and they're just sitting here and not sharing it with everybody. So I'll share it for all of you that I saw at the parades, and some of you were there, and also at the cleanup at the Signal Center. Some of you are here that did that. Yay. And also other things that we're doing that we don't have on our list. For instance, I work with the Newton Center, Early Childhood Development, and that is a continuing service. Many of us are doing these kinds of things, but particularly on this week that we were doing things, it really felt good that we were all participating in the legacy of Martin Luther King.
Wow, we're shy. We're going to have to get in a better, this is called testifying in other churches. And we're going to have to get in a better habit of bragging and testifying about the good work. Oh, Andy, yes. All right. Thank you.
Well, I didn't do service per se, but I did march in the parade with our group, and it was wonderful. And we had the privilege of marching with, she was the first interracial couple she was one half of the first interracial couple of Hamilton County. I didn't get the full story, but she was just adorable and very proud and happy to be there and be with everybody. And I just thought, what a privilege to meet this person that is part of history. The marching bands were great, just being out, the weather was great. It was a bad day for worms, I think, because it was not raining. But it's such a joy to be with you all outside of this building and show everybody what we're about. And a lot of people were asking about what is this, or I've heard of that, or who are you? And it was really great. So I encourage all of you, the next time we march in a parade, we like a parade around here. So the next time we march in a parade, don't be scared. Come join us.
I want to say that somebody came who had only been here to church a couple times. I want to say something that has really filled yet troubled my heart in the past week. And what filled yet troubled my heart is we and the Quakers were the only white churches in the parade. And I felt really sad and disappointed and glad that I drug my butt out to go for reasons I didn't know. And people were asking us, why are we here? It's because Unitarian Universalists have always been part of the March for Justice. They have always been there for civil rights. This is nothing new. And the next time somebody asks you, why are you here? We're going to say, because we always have been. So I just want to really appreciate the people who came out, and I want to appreciate the joy experienced in the parade. We were dancing. I had people, my daughter say, their mom saw you on TV. Yeah, it was fun. It was good. It was good publicity for our church, but I just want to say, when they ask, why are you here? I just want to remind you that we have always been part of that. And we will continue. And so I'm proud we were there, but I'm going to hold some accountability to my fellow clergy in Chattanooga. And have you seen how many churches you drive by when you go down the street? More people needed to be there. This is never, ever ending time to rejoice about the legacy of Dr. King, but also a time to acknowledge that we have some work to do. So thank you. Speaking of work to do, what a good segue, right? I think it'd be time for us to talk about, the homework. Wait, next slide. See, I forget these slide things. Oh, it's week 2, blessings and liberatory intersections. I'll talk more about that during this sermon. Okay, next slide. Homework. Okay, so we're going to work on gratitude this week. What we do have, when we look at our gratitude, when we're grateful for what we have, we can use our privilege as leverage better. Okay? So, complimenting each other. I got a compliment from email about how I was dressed last week. I see you online. Thank you so much. That's nice. But don't just compliment. This is not a list of things to do for your minister. Please, this is for each other. So please pay attention to the homework. Pay attention to connecting. There is a potluck here on Wednesday nights that I think is the most glorious way to get to know each other. And this is a place that loves to feed each other. We're working on feeding the community. And now is the segue I was looking for to invite Bill up once again to introduce our speaker today. Oh.
I have the privilege of introducing today. Oh, okay. I have the privilege today of introducing today Dominique Brandt. Dominique is the Chief Development Officer for the Chattanooga Area Food Bank. Originally from Miami, Florida, Dominique relocated to Chattanooga in 2013 to work in community engagement and development at Habitat for Humanity of Greater Chattanooga area. Prior to her Scenic City move, Dominique worked with the Miami affiliate of Habitat for Humanity in development and event management for more than 5 years. In her previous life, as she calls it, Dominique was a real estate paralegal. In 2019, Dominique transitioned to United Way of Greater Chattanooga as their Vice President of Community Impact, where she spearheaded much of the organization's pandemic response. In September of this year, Dominique accepted the role of Chief Development Officer at the Chattanooga Area Food Bank. In these past 2 months, she has been busy learning food banking, crafting strategy, and building her team. Since her arrival, Dominique has been active with the Chattanooga Women's Leadership Institute, Performing Arts League, Scenic City Women's Network, and served as the editor of Leadership Matters, the quarterly newspaper of the Mayor's Council for Women. Dominique serves on the board of the Women's Fund of Chattanooga, Boys and Girls Club of Chattanooga, and the advisory board of the Partnership Network. And I understand she doesn't sleep very much either. Dominique and her husband, Jack Shepard, have 3 adult sons, 2 daughters-in-law, and 2 delightful grandchildren. I bet they're delightful almost always. Dominique enjoys reading, traveling, and spending time on her front porch with friends and neighbors, and is an active member of New City Fellowship Glenwood. Dominique?
Wow, who is that person? I'm not sure. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you, Reverend Goheen, for the invitation, for allowing me to share your pulpit for a moment. I am tickled, and I'm tickled. Hi there, everybody who's watching online. That's pretty cool, too. I love technology. This is is my first time in a UU church, and I'm really delighted. One of the things that I have loved about the nonprofit work I've gotten to do over the last 15, 16 years is how many times it has taken me into different churches. And as I was looking at some of your foundational statements that the Dornbushes were so kind to share with me, and thinking, I was reminded of a time that I was in a Jewish synagogue, and we were talking about tikkun olam, which is repairing the world. I see a couple of heads nodding, and I hear those same echoes here today. And creation and humanity and the reality of what unites us all, whatever faith we might practice or not practice, whatever that might look like in our lives, there is a reality that does unite us, and that's kind of neat. So we've got, next slide. So really quickly, the mission of the food bank is to lead a network of partners and unite the community. Unite the community to eliminate hunger by feeding, nourishing, which is a word I've heard today several times, and empowering those we serve, right? Because as we empower people, they will need us less and less to serve them, and they'll be able to help serve others. And our vision is to provide equitable access to food and resources to end hunger today. That's a really important statement. I want to pause for a moment because sometimes I get asked, well, you're ever going to end hunger? And I'm like, we're ending hunger every day. If you're hungry today and you receive a food box and you're able to take that home and feed yourself and your family, you're no longer hungry today. But we know it's an ongoing battle, right? And to build pathways for a healthy, hunger-free future. One of the little statements that I saw in the little bookmark, it talks about the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. So think about this as food justice. Justice is about a lot of different things. Food is one of our basic necessities. We cannot do anything without that. Can I get the next slide, please? So when you think of the Chattanooga area food bank, notice my focus on the word area. We serve 20 counties, which surprises a lot of people, but we serve Southeast Tennessee and Northwest Georgia, and we serve them out of 3 different locations, 2 here in Hamilton County, one which probably everybody's driven by on Amnicola, and then our Foxwood Food Distribution Center, which is where our emergency food boxes are centered out of. And then in Dalton, we have a warehouse presence, and we're just expanding that as well so that we're able to serve our Northwest Georgia brothers and sisters in a much more efficient way. Can I get a slide, please? So what does hunger look like in our community? It looks like 161,000 people that are hungry or food insecure. And what is the face of hunger? The face of hunger, it's easy to imagine that face of hunger as being that unhoused person, maybe a little scruffy, maybe even a little smelly because they don't have access to showers every day. And often that's who we think of hunger. But the face of hunger is the senior on a fixed income that is going to make a choice between necessary medication to keep them alive and food. The face of hunger is that college student that is at Chat State or at UTC, where both universities and universities across our community, our region, and our country have to have food pantries because students are hungry. They do not have enough food. It is the face of a mama and her 2 or 3 little kids who cannot get enough food, and the mom that is not eating or maybe eating just a little bit so that her children can eat. It's that single dad. That's the face of hunger. It's our neighbors. If 1 in 6 individuals, and we know this statistic is true in our community, is hungry, look around. That could be somebody sitting next to you in your pew. Can I get a slide, please? So how do we do this work? A lot of people envision that the work of the food bank is emergency food boxes. And it is. That is a huge piece of what we do. But we do so much more because we only do a little piece of it ourselves. The rest is done through over 250 community partners that we have across the 20 counties. And what do? They do mobile pantries, and that means that in a rural community where there is not physical space for frozen protein, for fresh refrigerated milk and produce, and enough space to hold shelf-stable items, our trucks go out, and a church or a community kitchen or some other entity has said, we're going to have food distribution here. We show up about 45 minutes early, drop all the food, put freezer blankets on everything so it stays at temperature, and we bug out of there, and that community serves itself. But that takes a lot of coordination, a lot of vehicles, a lot of staff, and a lot of volunteers. It looks like sack packs for the children that go home on Friday, and the last meal they have is lunch, and they may not have anything until breakfast on Monday, or maybe very little. And packages are sent home with them so they have food over the weekend. It looks like summer bags for those same hungry children. It looks like home deliveries for those that are shut in or are seniors or simply cannot drive. Can I get a slide, please? I am almost done, I promise you. I promise you. Our impact in 2022, these numbers are just out because we just put all of our stuff together. So 14 million meals. Now, let me remind you, we do not serve anybody a hot meal. That is not who we are. We provide groceries for meals. So when we say that, we are talking about the equivalent of the groceries for meals that we are able to distribute. That is over 18 million pounds of food that go in and out our Amnicola warehouse. 1.5 million pounds of food come through every month and are fully turned over from that location. 301 mobile pantries, I talked about those, reaching out into the rural communities where otherwise there would be even more severe food insecurity. Fresh milk, fresh produce, and then our emergency food boxes. And if I can get the last slide, please. And so this is where I want to pause for just half a second. This is one of my favorite places in the world. This is our Foxwood Food Center. And if you are familiar with Wilcox Boulevard, it's just on the other side of the tunnels. It used to be an old Food Lion, and we have a piece of it. And from there, that is where families and individuals come and they get a food box. And our food boxes are about 22 to 25 pounds of shelf-stable items. They used to be closer to 60 or 65, and we've made them smaller. Not because people are less hungry, but because now, for the balance of their food, they get to shop for it. So it's set up like a little grocery store. Let's not get excited. It's not as big as a Publix. It's a little, but it's exciting. It's client choice. So our neighbors that are hungry get their food box, and then they go through with a volunteer that is their personal shopper, and they get to select the produce they want from the produce that we have there and fill a grocery sack with that. And they get to look at the fresh protein, frozen protein, and say, I want chicken, or no, I want beef, or, ooh, you've got chicken livers, that's what I want. They make selections that make sense for them, for their families. If your kid doesn't eat okra, it does not help you if I give you 30 pounds of okra. But if your kid will eat broccoli and you can select broccoli, now we're going somewhere, right? And then there are a series of other things that they are able to choose for themselves. Fresh grains and breads. And yes, there is a spot where there are some bakery items that get donated from retail to us. So there's some cupcakes and some cakes. And because if you don't even have enough to get milk and cereal to your child, are you ever going to be able to buy him a Little Debbie? Everybody should have a treat every so often, all in moderation, right? This place, that's what it looks like. This is one of our guests, and we did ask her permission, shopping. So you see her shopping cart, and she's got her basic boxes there, but she is selecting from, I can't tell if that's sweet potato or I think it's sweet potatoes. And she's just shopping for the rest of her groceries. And we need you to help us make that possible. And you can help us in 3 different ways that are really, really simple. One, the Dornbushes already got you all hooked up. Fill that grocery bag with groceries, with shelf-stable items, things that you would like. Those are the things that your neighbors would like. 2, if you're able to, make a gift. Each dollar that you donate, we can turn into groceries for 3 meals. Because we don't buy by the can, by the box, or even by the pallet. We buy 30 pallets of corn. So the price that we can get it at is really, really affordable. So if you can, make a gift. And thirdly, if you can, come and volunteer. Come volunteer at Foxwood. Meet your neighbors who are in need. Help them shop. Give them the dignity of being able to select items for themselves. And then you walk them out to their car and load it in their car, just like if they were at Publix. That dignity, that empowerment, that's what it's about. There is some materials in the back, including a little flyer that has scan codes for donating and volunteering. Please get engaged. I will be here. I'm excited to hear the rest of your service. I will be here after the service in the back, happy to answer any questions you may have, and I have taken too long, but thank you so very much.
Oh, I don't need that. And now, 100% of the offering is going to this work, and it will be gratefully received. Please join me in our offertory response found in your order of service. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice and act with compassion, embrace life and care for the earth. To this work, we dedicate our offerings. And now I would like to invite Jennifer up to tell, and anyone else who'd like to come up, for our story for all ages, Stone Soup. Yeah, you can set that however you want. Anyone want to come up, hang out? I will.
Okay.
Okay, you want me to hold this while you read?
Probably be easier, yeah.
You want to sit down so they can see it, or are we going to
Sure.
stand? Okay, we're going to,
I'll sit down.
all right. Let's sit down. That way we can see the pictures and I can hold the microphone.
Oh, thank you. Okay, this is an old book. It's as old as I am. What's? It's Stone Soup. Yes.
Have you had that before?
I know. There were 3 hungry soldiers. They were trudging down the road in a strange country. They were on their way home. Beside being tired, they were very hungry. In fact, they had not seen anything to eat in 2 days. How I would like good dinner tonight, said the first, and a bed to sleep in, said the second. But all that is impossible, said the third. We must march on. As they marched, suddenly ahead of them they saw the lights of a village. Maybe we'll find a bite to eat there, said the first, and a loft to sleep in, said the second. No harm in asking, said the third. Now the people of the place were fearful of the strangers. When they heard the 3 soldiers were coming down the road, they talked among themselves. Here come 3 soldiers. Soldiers are always hungry, but we have little enough for ourselves, and they are hungry. So they hurried to hide all their food. They pushed sacks of barley under the hayloft. They lowered buckets of milk into the well. They spread old quilts over the carrots, and they hid their cabbage and potatoes under the bed. They hung their meat in the cellars. They hid all that they had to eat. Then they waited. The soldiers stopped first at the house of Paul and Francois. "Good evening to you," they said. "Could you spare a bit of food? We are 3 hungry soldiers." "We have had no food ourselves for 3 days," said Paul. Francois made a sad face. It had been a poor harvest. The 3 soldiers went to the house of Albert and Louise. "Could you spare a bit of food and have us a corner where we could sleep for tonight?" "Oh, no," said Albert. "We gave all we could spare to the soldiers who came through before you." "Our beds are full," said Louise. At Vincent and Marie's, the answer was the same. It had been a poor harvest, and the grain must be kept for seeds. So it went through the whole village. Not a person had any food to give away, and they all had good reasons. One friend had used the grain to feed, the other an old sick father to take care of. All had too many mouths to feed. The villagers stood in the street and sighed and looked hungry as they could. The 3 soldiers talked among themselves. "Then," said the first soldier, called out, "Good people, draw near. We are 3 hungry soldiers in a strange land. We have asked for food, and you have no food. Well then, we'll have to make stone soup." The peasants stared. Stone soup? What would something like that, how would something like that know about? "First, we'll need a large iron pot," the soldier said. The peasants brought a large pot, the biggest they could find. "Here, is this big enough to cook it in?" "That's none too large," said the soldiers, "but it will have to do. Now water to fill the pot and a fire to heat it up." It took many buckets to fill the pot, and the fire was built. And the villagers looked at the pot. "And now place 3 round, smooth stones." Those were easy to find. The peasants' eyes grew round as they watched the soldiers drop the stones into the pot. Here, can you see that? Okay. Yeah. "Any soup needs salt and pepper," said the soldiers as they began to stir. The children ran and fetched salt and pepper. "Stones like these generally make good soup, but oh, if we had some carrots, it would be so much better." "Why, I think I have some carrots, a carrot or 2, said Francois. And off she ran, and she came back with an apron full of carrots. "A good soup should have cabbage," said the soldiers as they sliced the carrots into the pot. "But no use asking, you don't have any." "I think I could find a cabbage somewhere," said Marie, and she hurried home, and back she came with 3 big heads of cabbage from her cupboard. "If we only had a bit of beef and a few potatoes, this soup would be fit for a rich man's table." The people thought it over, and they remembered their potatoes and a side of beef hanging in the cellar. They ran to fetch them. "Ah," sighed the soldiers. This is stirring the beef and the potatoes into the pot. If we had just a little barley and a cup of milk, this soup would be fit for the king himself. Indeed, he asked, for some just like this the last time we dined with him. But no use asking these people, they don't have it. The soldiers sighed. The people brought their barley and their loaves, and they brought their milk and from the well, and the soldiers stirred the barley and the milk into the broth while the peasants stared. At last the soup was ready. All of you shall taste, said the soldiers. But first, a table must be set, a great table where so big tables were placed in the square, and all around were lighting torches. Such a soup, a good soup, it smelled, truly fit for a king. But then the peasants asked themselves, would not such a soup require bread, a roast, or cider? Soon the banquet was spread, and everybody sat down. Never had they had such a feast. Never had the people tasted such soup and fancy made from stones. They all ate and drank and ate and drank, and then they danced and sang into the night. At last they were tired, and the 3 soldiers asked, is there not a loft where we could sleep? Let 3 such wise and splendid gentlemen sleep in a loft indeed. We must have the best beds in the village. So the first soldier slept at the pastor's house. The second soldier slept at the baker's house. And the third soldier slept at the mayor's house. In the morning, the whole village gathered in the square to send them off. Many thanks, for you have taught us, the people said to the soldiers. We shall never go hungry now that we know how to make stone soup for ourselves. And then the soldiers head off home. Thank you.
The end. Yay, thank you. Woo! Yeah. Now I got to get up. All right. And Jennifer, I think, are you going to go downstairs?
No, they have
Oh, okay. So you all are welcome to go downstairs for religious education, and I invite all of us to sing them on their way. Just set it there, it's fine. I think of stone soup at my house when my kids were little, and partially probably me trying to convince myself that I wanted to eat vegetable soup. Really still don't. But the thing that happened was they all got really into it, and it was a creative process. So take this story home and make some vegetable soup. Who knows who will eat it? But I do tell you that parents' revenge sometimes is sweet. And so one of my children packed a thermos full of stone soup to take to school. He's in high school at this point. And in front of everyone, pulls out a rock. And I said, "What did you say to your friends?" And he said, "My mom is just weird." So don't underestimate the power and impact cooking with your kids can have. And with that little bit of humor, I want to invite us into a time of meditation and thoughtfulness, a time of reflection. Let's take a deep breath together. Let's take a big one so our neighbor can hear it. Let the week kind of slide off. Be present in this moment. Be present and surrounded by community and love and hope, fearless hope. Know that individually we might not do a lot, but together we can do so much to impact our community so that people may not ever be hungry. Hungry spiritually, hungry physically, hungry for community. Let this be a place where people are fed and nourished with the spirit of life that is in all of us. And in that sense of a spirit of life holding us together, I invite you, if you'd like to come forward and light a candle, to hold what joys or concerns you might have had for the week. Light a candle for the hope you have for the world. Light a candle for someone who might not be feeling well. Light a candle for someone you might be ready to reconnect with. So at this time, I invite you forward. And I'm going to light a couple additional candles for people online, for the things we weren't quite ready to share or bring up. May we hold these tender spots in our heart and acknowledge their need for nourishment and care. May we use the joy we might have celebrated to spread it like ripples through the world. And may we always find a place here where community means love and connection to what we need. I had some questions about how to talk to you all about why we serve people in Unitarian Universalism. And I've been really mulling over in my head how to inspire and motivate you without the fear that is associated with some religions, without the promise that is associated with some religions of sitting at a table in heaven. Have you ever sat at a table in heaven? I have. I've sat at a table with people I love and been nourished, had great conversations, and there's this little moment or spark of heaven there. A moment, a glimpse of what some might call God. I was searching and searching for where to find answers about why Unitarian Universalists serve, what compels us, what brings us to this table, what makes us bring food and keep trying to bend that arc towards justice. Why? I'm not afraid to go to hell. I don't have to do it. I don't have some dictate that tells me that in order to be loved by God, I have to be perfect. We're good. I'll say that serving people does make us feel good. That's true, but it's more than that. And I am so shocked that I came to a founding fundamental of Unitarianism, which is transcendentalism, when I was on this journey. I was like, whoa. I was not looking for Thoreau in this. I was looking for like some certainty, some words, some way to compel myself and others to do the good work of justice. Instead, I found people saying things like, I believe in progress. I believe in I and thou. Who's heard of I and thou? When we sit at the table together with hungry people, those people become a name, not hungry people. They no longer become the poor, the hungry, the people that made some bad choices. When we're sitting together and eating, we're talking about how good the soup tastes. We're talking about our grandkids. We're talking about the beautiful thing we saw yesterday on the side of the trail we were hiking on. And I kept thinking, like, transcendentalism, this is all about nature. Why is this bringing me back and back and back to why I serve? And then I realized we're nature too, right? People are nature. And what I found was so fascinating that Martin Buber talks about, who is the person who wrote the book I and Thou, is he writes in his second little section, I consider a tree. And I was like, okay, I hear you. I can look on it as a picture, stiff, column in a shock of light, or a splash of green shot with delicate blue and silver of background. I can perceive it as a moment flowing Veins on clinging, pressed pitch, suck the roots, breathing the leaves, ceaseless commerce with earth and air, and the obscure growth itself. I can classify it as a species and study it as a type, its structure, its model of life. I can subdue its actual presence and form so sternly that I recognize it only as an expression of the law of accordance with which the constant opposition of force is continually adjusted, or those in accordance with the components mingle and separate. I can dissipate it, I can perpetuate its numbers in pure numerical relations, but he rejects that. He says science isn't everything. We can't reject science. We can't reject that it is a tree, it is an object, but there is a part of it is living and it is relational, and that's the word we really need. The word we're looking for that nourishment is relational. When I start looking at that tree as my friend, as something I'm experiencing and appreciating, it becomes two ways. Not how I can manipulate or benefit from the tree. Not how I can fix the tree to be a better tree. Not how I can convince the tree that it shouldn't drink water and absorb nutrients from the soil or sunlight. That's not going to work. But be in relationship and appreciation with a tree, and if I can do that with a tree, I can do it with a person. I can be in relationship with a person, understanding that when they become it in my brain, that I no longer care for them rightly. I no longer consider their needs. We have a problem in our society where we like to decide what people need to do to fix themselves. We don't like to ask them what they need. We don't like to be in conversation with them about how they might have gone without so that they could have food on the table, how they had to make a decision, like you said, between medication and food. There's no way to know that if we're just deciding for them how to fix them. I have some news for all of us. We're all a little broken. And I also have some news. I don't want fixed all the time, do you? What is work? I talked about this a while ago, like when you have a new baby and somebody comes and tells you how to take care of the baby. I mean, it's appreciated for a while. And then it gets a little old. And then it gets a little like, you should. We have to keep should out of our mouth, right? You should love a baby and feed it and have fun with it. That seems like a good place to start. You should love people and have fun with justice. It should feed you. Justice should feed you. How are you being fed spiritually, morally, ethically by justice and the way you're participating in it? Justice can't be it either. Justice is not an it, because I don't know any more what justice looks like than I know what heaven looks like. It's little sips of time. It's little sparkles in our life that we collect so we have an understanding of how things can be together. It's so interesting, the shift into transcendentalism and the shift of thinking of it as heretical. That's the part that just like makes me so excited. Like, a heretic. I want to be a heretic if it means that I believe people are people and that we can be in relationships together and that we can all grow towards justice by serving each other. Who knows what happens when you serve other people? I grow. I grow and grow and grow. And the more I let go of my preconceived notions of what that service is supposed to be, the more I grow into what I might need and what the person I'm in relationship with might need. I have a relationship with a lot of people that might not be common because I seek it out proximity. I seek out people. I have a relationship with a person who might be watching who lives in prison. And when we talk, it's easy for me to think I shouldn't tell him how great dinner was. Or I shouldn't tell him how beautiful the leaves are on the trees. I shouldn't tell him about the deer I just saw because he can't have that. But that's such a grave mistake because first of all, I've blocked relationships by sharing what is me, and I've blocked joy, and I've blocked experiences that I can share. I've made a decision for both of us about what he's going to think and feel if I say something. That's another thing in I and thou. We can't have the conversation without someone. We have to be together. We can't decide what the other person thinks. When I talk to thou, we are together where we have this. I don't have an explanation. I guess we could call it the spirit of life in Unitarian Universalism. It's just the chemistry. We talk about this magic, this click that happens when we're really listening and we're really relating to people. And we can't just think that we're listening and relating to people so that they can be better. We have to remember it makes us better too. We have to remember that I and thou can't exist without I. Right? We have to be able to learn and grow and change with the people that we're helping. We have to be of service because we believe in the goodness of humans. And some of us believe in God, and some of us believe that that is in every single thing around us. And that's the next thing Buber says about God. Like, God's not an it either, however you may frame what God is. God is something to be in relationship with. And when we take these words of it out of our mouth and we start thinking about relationships, we can grow into a place where service starts to come naturally to us. It's not a big deal, and we throw down a little bit of the fear of messing up. There's nothing to be afraid of messing up when you're in relationship with people. That's never a mistake. Now, I could talk about this for 25 more minutes, and you would wiggle, and I would wiggle, and I just want to say that I think there's no better explanation of I and thou as from what we heard from the food pantry. You know, that opportunity. This is our opportunity to be I and thou. It's as easy as filling up a grocery bag, y'all. We can do this. It's as easy as, I was thinking about what the grocery bag would have in it, and I was thinking, oh, I have this great white chili recipe. Maybe I'll put the recipe in there. You know, it's as easy as just thinking it through to the next thing. It's as easy as thinking that this can of food might change someone's life, and I'm never going to see them. But that's okay, because we are here to create ripples of goodness as we're bending that arc towards justice. And I want to thank you all for being in that journey with me. I want to thank you for being a place where we can bend the arc together, where we can understand that people are people. Poverty is a thing. Hunger is a thing. We're here to care about people. It is our mission to care. And may that be so, and blessed be. Now we're going to sing again. And I also, words on the screen again. Also, another verse we haven't seen again. See, there's a little rhyming. I didn't mean to do that. But I want to invite you all to rise in body and or spirit for number 10, we give thanks. And there's a second verse, like I said, which is pretty excited. Please join us online, rise in body or spirit, wherever you may be, and join us, join your voices. seated. So what? My favorite part. So this is the poem I read to myself or I hear in my head a lot, and I wanted to share it because sometimes we just need a little thing to latch on to, put in our pocket, and take home with us. This is called Stubborn Ounces. I know I've read it to you before. To one who doubts the worth of doing anything if you can't do everything. You say the little efforts I make will do no good, though they will never prevail to tip the hovering scale where justice hangs in the balance. I don't think I ever thought they would, but I am prejudiced beyond debate in favor of my right to choose which side shall feel the stubborn ounces of my weight. Speaking of stubbornness in myself, I am getting ready to head out of here. We're going to extinguish the chalice. I am supposed to be speaking in 20 minutes at the Women's March. You know, I need the time turner thing from Harry Potter, that's all. I'm really excited to be going and talking about the separation of church and state in the 14th Amendment and talking about citizenship. And I want to say that no citizen should go hungry. That's just silly. There's so much food. We know that. There's so much wasted food. Let's put our stubborn ounces behind making sure that no one goes hungry. In Chattanooga, and in the expanding area or in the world, it just doesn't make sense. And we are a thoughtful people. We are a thoughtful people who know that there are ways around this waste of food and people going hungry. So put your stubborn ounces behind that this week. I'll preach longer next week. I have more to say about I and thou. It is time to extinguish our chalice. And we'll have announcements, and our board rep, Sally, will come up. Do you remember that, Sally? Okay, good. And she will lead announcements, but I'm going to look very silly, and we're going to put the chalice out, and then I'm going to run out the door. I love all of you. I'd really like to hug you and say goodbye. I probably have a lot more to say about Martin Buber. So, yeah, I am so filled with joy for serving this community, but it's time to go run my mouth downtown. So have a great week. And let's extinguish this chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth and the warmth of love and fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So yeah, now would be the time for announcements. Take a moment to think about it. If you've got an announcement, come on up. It's also time to sign up for dinners and homes. I'll say more about that at the end.
Thank you. I just want to announce that this coming Friday, we will be having, the Social Justice Committee will be hosting a movie night. And the movie will be Elysium. It's a movie, it's a science fiction movie, but it is also about inequality and health care. So it is not a potluck, but please bring any kind of snack that you'd like. I'll bring popcorn and whatever you'd like to drink. So thank you. Oh, 7 o'clock.
She's just passing something out right now. Looks like we'll be writing down notes.
Okay, hey, I'm Lynn Higgins, and I'm your primary instigator here. It seems my calling. Okay, growing through relationship is what we're going to be doing. And do you like what we did with art on the walls for autumn, and what we did for snowflakes, and what we did for the dove banners? Okay, we have another project for you to participate in and grow through a relationship with other creative people. And this is going to be for summertime. We will be meeting next Sunday after church, 12:30, for a light lunch and a planning session. So all of you who are interested in doing some art project to put on our walls during the summer, please come and join us. We'll be downstairs in the medievals room having a light lunch and a discussion with a group of other creative people, and it is so fantastic to work with you all. So please come join us. If you're going to be coming, please sign one of these little notebooks, and I'll collect them at the back of the room when we're done, so we'll know how many people to bring food for. Okay, see you there.
Well, there's always so many ways to get involved in this beloved community, and I've got two more ways. One I've already mentioned, and we've been hard at work with these bylaws, right? We've run into some changes in our timeline. The previously scheduled Thursday Zoom session is being pushed a week, so it's going to be not this Thursday, but next Thursday. You can see that detail in the newsletter. Same thing with our congregational vote that was supposed to happen in February is going to be pushed to the first week of March because we have a guest speaker coming this Sunday that we were planning on voting, and it would be very nice not to have to rush her out so that we can have a vote. So we're going to move everything about a week in advance. Just wanted to let everybody know. And the second thing is very exciting. I need to make sure that I am getting all the dates and times right. As you have noticed over the past few months, we're celebrating the cycles of the pagan wheel of the year. And we had a wonderful solstice, labyrinth and altar and Yule log, and it's already time for the next one. See, the thing about celebrating neo-paganism is that you have a holiday every couple of weeks, it seems like. And this happens to be one of my very favorite ones, which is the holiday of Imbolc. And when you look at it, it looks like it's spelled Imbolc, but Imbolc is the Gaelic translation. It relates to the time when the calves were in their mother's wombs, and so it's a time when springtime and abundance is on its way. It's a celebration of potential, and the darkest part of winter has passed, and we're looking forward towards spring, yet still in the midst of winter. So if you want to come and celebrate this holiday with us, it's going to be very contemplative, and we'll have a little ritual that we'll do, and this is going to be on February 1st, right here at 6 p.m. That is a Wednesday, and there's not a potluck happening that night, so if you're normally coming for potluck, come for our ritual. And we'll be discussing the goddess Brigid. This is her special holiday. She is an Irish goddess, also became a Catholic saint when Catholicism became the religion in Ireland. So come learn more and celebrate, and there will be some light refreshments, and it'll be a good time. So stay, and you can look in the newsletter for more details. Jen wrote a beautiful description of what we'll be doing here on that day. All right, it's the longest service ever.
And you can always check for more announcements on the back of your order of service.
Hi, everyone. Sandy Kurtz here again. I'm thinking of this Green Sanctuary Initiative survey that we're asking households to participate in. I'm thinking of it as beginning, sort of reigniting our spark toward justice as we rise to the climate change crisis, as the Unitarian Universalist Association wants us to do. And this is the first step. We're on our way, and if you haven't gone online, and the link is in your newsletter, if you see that, or you can have a paper one, and we have 17 households so far that have participated 1 week. We'd like to have these back February 5th. So take a paper one with you today, or get online and let's get it done. It'll be the beginning as we find out what we can do for justice in the community and directly here. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? All right, then our last one is dinners in homes. It was so much fun last time. It is the last day today to sign up to host. We need hosts. I know you're thinking you want to go to one, and that's great, but first, we need hosts. All you do is decide. You decide when. You decide how many people can come, and you only have to provide one dish. You don't even have to cook it yourself. You can buy it. I won't tell anyone. It's fine. I will be doing sign-ups at the computer at the table in the middle of the lobby. It's going to be so good. Today's the last day. Now's your chance. Let's do it. Also, happy Lunar New Year. Today is the first day of the year of the rabbit. The end. Thank you very much. I'll see you when you sign up for Dinners and Homes. Have a great rest of your week. Remember, take your 30 days of love with you.